Hello. Hope you guys doing fantastic today. So I have a day 4 progression video for you from Brutus of Divine Judgment. The build, as expected, is doing really well. By day 3, I did pretty much, the entire Atlas and all the Void Stones. This is the Maven fight. And this is also the fight from yesterday. Since then, I had additional upgrades. But in this video, I'm going to talk about, how the progression is going. We're going to talk about grafts because this is really important. I saw that a lot of people on the stream asked me about, excuse me, asked me about the grafts. They are important and they're honestly stronger than we thought in the beginning. So yeah, this is gonna be like a topic to talk about. We're going to talk about the Foulborn Uniques because there's like a very cheap Foulborn Unique that you can get yourself, and it's almost as good, not too far away. It's a little bit worse, but it's almost as good as a synth belt with 50% strength, and this belt is literally going to cost you 1 chaos, and then I don't know, like 5 chaos or like 10 chaos for the catalysts, right? So very powerful, very strong. The character did everything, as I mentioned before in the game. No problems whatsoever. If you weren't as handless of a player as I am, then I'm sure that you could do all of that deathless. I did the Maven deathless by day 3, which I know is nothing impressive, but for a scaling build, this is, I guess, fine. The damage here is not looking like super crazy, but there's basically one thing that we're missing the most still, and it's the cluster jewels. Once the cluster jewels are in play, you have basically permanent charges, and that is massive because without permanent charges, you don't have really that much crit, right? With permanent charges, you have frenzy charges and power charges while fighting bosses, and this alone would be like 30% more damage. So I mean, absolutely disgusting. So far, so good. Everyone that I talked to basically is pretty satisfied. There is some issues. For example, some people, I had reports that in the beginning, they had kind of slow start, and it is kind of true to a certain extent that in the very beginning the build has like a kind of slow start, in early white maps. But as soon as you get like the mandatory items, so for example, Crown of Ice and Alberon's Warpath and your strength gear and stuff like that, which is not hard to get at all, especially with this league's crafting, then the build definitely picks up, and as you can see, like we can actually do some reasonable damage. Apart from cluster jewels, of course, there is another huge upgrade which is going to be undeniable. The timeless jewel, right? Not the timeless jewel, the jewel that you need to like collect too, and you can steal the ascendancy point from someone else. That is going to be absolutely devastating. And of course, other like upgrades like Hellcore rings. There's just like so much to do with these guys. Of course, a massive thing that you can think of as well is the 15% physical damage taken as fire. And this is one of the Foulborn. We're gonna talk about it later, but there's this Foulborn modifier that gives you 15% physical damage taken as fire on Zov's blood. And what you lose for that, is you basically only lose fire resistance. So this is huge, right? Because if there is one weakness that this build would have when it comes to defenses, then I would say it's physical. And the best part about this is that we use Arctic armor, so like both of these fire and physical damages will be like mitigated further. With endurance charges, this is actually going to be at this point very nice amount of physical damage mitigation. As you can see, the Maven herself doesn't really do anything to me, and that's really true for all the pinnacle bosses. The situation is, of course, the situation will look a little bit different when it comes to Ubers, but like we're not ready for that. But when it comes to regular bosses, they don't really do regular pinnacle bosses. They don't really do damage. I have another clip over here with a rather dangerous invitation, I do believe. This invitation was like with extra fire and like I think like something else, right? There's like 2 or 3 damage mods, and yeah, I mean the damage is decent, the tankiness is very decent. I would say that one weakness that I currently have and I should improve on is having pretty low amount of chaos resistance. Right now I think I have 0. Before the stream I had minus 35, so I mean this amount of chaos resistance is, if you want to be, we started farming tier 16.5 maps with Delirium and with a little bit of Blight, like a very low investment Blight. And sometimes, if for example going to get modifier like monster's poison on hit, this will absolutely nuke you if you don't have a very, very high amount of poison resistance. So, you know, there are some small weaknesses, but they can be absolutely solved and will be solved with gear. So yeah, I'm going to show you guys the passive tree, how it looks like right now, the items, and we're going to talk about all the stuff that I wanted. So there you go. Okay, so let's start by going over the Foulborn. Interesting for us Foulborn modifiers. So first up, we have Zov's. It doesn't show over here, but you have also this version. You have Zov's Blood, basically a version that removes fire resistance and gives you 15% of physical damage from hits taken as fire damage. Now, I'm going to say that right off the bat, I'm not sure if with a catalyst you could make it a 80%. I'm not 100% sure if it counts as a fire modifier. It could, maybe not, but even if it's only 15% and you already have your resistances covered, this is huge. This is absolutely huge. Of course, as I mentioned before, this does work on Zov's Blood, so you're gonna find these as well. And Zov's Blood is very, very cheap. This league is basically worth nothing, like 1 chaos, right? But this is absolutely huge because 50%, we don't have a lot of armor, but we still have 10,000 or something like that. We could, like, honestly very easily get like 15,000 with Flask up with Granite. With Endurance Charges, Arctic Armor, and 15% physical taken as fire. This is very substantial amount of actually tankiness against physical damage. Very, very, very high. And you will see massive difference against physical hits. I mean, don't get me wrong, the build is still very tanky, right? But with this, you're going to see even bigger difference, and the big physical hits are not going to hurt you that much anymore. I'm pretty sure that with this, you would be able to, like, for example, tank Slam from Uber Shaper. So yeah, this is absolutely huge. And the moment you're going to realize that, I mean, the moment you're going to realize, the moment you're going to get to the point where your fire resistance is good enough. So for example, you have really good rings, maybe helicals even. You definitely want to swap this one and get yourself this, because this is going to be huge. Of course, I don't have to say that, you know, the closer to 15%, the better, right? Now the second option is that I am actually using right now is Meginord's Girdle, and this is absolutely huge because this will remove Flask life recovery rate, which is not a big deal whatsoever, and it gives you 5 to 15% increased strength. This is huge. This is the equivalent of Synth Belt with 15% strength. Of course, once again, with Catalyst, you can increase it to 18%, and you basically have like a Synth Belt, right? Because the belt itself has 35 strength implicit and 25 strength. So in total, it's 60 strength with a perfect roll. I mean, roll. You can just do it with Blessed Orbs, right? To reroll the implicit. You're going to have 72 strength belt with 18% additional strength. And on top of that, it has some cold resistance and it has 10% life. That is huge. And why I'm saying that, it's because this belt is ridiculously cheap. The perfect roll I bought, I think, 2 days ago for 3 chaos. Right now, it's probably going to be 1. And even if it's going to be still 3 or 5 or whatever, then this is dirt cheap and a very cheap replacement for a Synth belt. Is this belt as good as a Synth belt? No, it's not. But it's actually close. It's not too far off. The Synth belt has this advantage that it's going to have literally the same amount of strength, basically. With Deafening Essence of Rage, but on top of that, it's going to have potentially some good resistances. So, like, for example, if you're gonna roll, like, I don't know, like high life plus high chaos resistance, then, you know, this belt is going to be eaten by a Synth belt like that, right? But as a cheap option, this is going to be huge early on, absolutely huge. I remember once I swapped my horrible belt from campaign into this, I gained 300 strength. I'm not even kidding, 300 straight up. I went from like 1300 to 1600, like right off the bat. So this is crazy, and you should absolutely go for that. Now, you might be wondering, have I seen all the Foulborn Uniques and saw something interesting? And not necessarily for this build, but for something else. And the answer is yes. There are actually quite a few of very, very interesting Foulborn modifiers here. In my opinion, one being extremely broken, and I am going to make a build with this. And I think it's going to be disgusting. No spoilers for now, but this modifier is just, you can't really get that much of the stat on the passive tree. or your items or anywhere else really. It's just going. I don't want to like like tease you guys, but like no spoilers for now. But this is going to be absolutely devastating. Something tells me so. And it's funny because it's kind of like a trip back to the past because I did a similar build. That was my first guide ever that I made many years ago before I was even like streaming League of Legends. So yeah, this is going to be a good one. So anyway, let's jump into Grafts. Okay, so when it comes to Grafts, when it comes to the baseline Grafts, I think the best one by far, number one, is going to be Flame Color's Zov's Graft. This one gives you Call of Pyre, skill also known as Call of Pyre, and this skill has a 1 second cooldown, creates some, Ashen Pillars, as it says, and this skill applies cover enemy in Ash on hit, applies cover Nash debuff for 4 seconds. So basically, even if you have Zov's Blood and then, late game Zov's Blood can be replaced for something better thanks to exactly this. Even if you have Zov's Blood, sometimes bosses and enemies will not hit you. Sometimes they will not have this debuff applied, right? So with this, you can basically easily apply the debuff 24/7. It's always going to be applied, and this is like a huge damage boost. One of the reasons why this build feels even better than last league, right? Because this is very consistent. We just got many additional options and buffs in different areas where this basically like made the early progression much smoother. But this is really nice. The other one I'm using, honestly, there are a few interesting options here. For example, hardening Ulgraft. The thing is that when it comes to the baseline abilities, affixes that these Grafts have, they're connected to the secondary skills that we're going to talk about in a second that you can get. So what I'm using is two of these Zov Grafts because both of them provide the abilities, the boosts, the stats that I'm looking for. But when it comes to like interesting looking passives, affixes that these guys have, additional physical damage reduction is definitely there. And other than that, it's like basically whatever, right? It's like there's one for minions, there's like elemental resistances, like whatever, right? What I'm using is Molten Zov's Graft and Flame Color Zov's Graft. Molten Zov's Graft, on the other hand, gives you basically this is kind of like a mini Molten Shell. It's going to activate every now and then, and it's going to give you a shield. Works exactly like Molten Shell. It doesn't scale with armor, but works exactly like Molten Shell because 80% of the damage from hits is taken from the buff before life or energy shield. So yeah, this is like, here, perfectly fine, right? Perfectly fine to use. Now, into the more important stuff is what abilities, what stats you should pick on your Zov's Grafts. So, number one option is just 17 strength straight up. Nothing to sneeze at, right? Number two option is, in my opinion, more powerful a little bit because I think a 4 strength on average is going to be a little bit more than 17 flat, depending on your build, obviously. But I think in our case it is going to be, and it's this one, 4% increased strength. You can absolutely do that. And now, in my opinion, to the best option, which I do use on both of them, is this one. Damage penetrates 6 to 10% fire resistance. I currently have 2 of them with 9% both. But you can get up to 10%, and I think this is really good. Really good. 20% penetration additionally, basically for free compared to last league. And I'm not even talking about all these other buffs that we received, right? But 20% pen, having that on both of your 10% pen, having that on both of your Grafts is huge. That's 20% penetration, and I do believe that is the best stat you can have. Now, I don't know, I haven't seen any of these because usually how it works, every single time I've seen these, they have one of these stats, right? Obviously, they have their baseline affix. They have one of these stats from this huge list, and then they have 3 abilities that do something related to the skill that, they have. So, something related to Call of Pyre, it's going to boost Call of Pyre, or it's going to boost Heart of Flame, etc, etc. So I don't think you can have, like, for example, fire penetration and strength at the same time. I think there's only one stat that is being picked from that list, but I could be wrong. let me know if it's possible, because if it's possible, then it's even more insane. You just get this, or even get this and get this, and you know, any combination of those, and it's going to be insane. It's going to be really, 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 really strong. But even if it's only going to be a singular stat, then 20% fire penetration from this is absolutely massive, and in my opinion, the best so far. This one is totally fine, but I'm using this one, the highest amount of damage boost, and I think you should use it. Alright, so now when it comes to items and the passive tree and, you know, the upgrades I'm going to be going for now. First of all, since the last time, there is some explanation I have to do. Since last time I upgraded, obviously, my chest piece, I got Iron Fortress. There is one relatively easy way you can do it yourself. So first of all, we need to understand that Vol Smite, I'm going to show you right here, Vol Smite has a lot of different tags. The interesting tags to us are AoE, duration, and aura. Potentially Vol also, but this +2 to Vol doesn't exist in armor corruptions anymore, so it's where it's like there is a lot of different tags, right? So all of these different tags are going to work towards, you know, you're going to receive the boost from appropriate corruption. So if you're going to get +2 seconded duration gems, it is going to work on Vol Smite. If you're going to get +2 aura, it is going to work on Vol Smite. If you're going to get +2 to AoE, also is going to work. And then of course +1 to all skills is also basically equally as powerful, because it gives you +1 to your supports as well. So what I did basically is what you want to do is you search for one of these implicits, and then you buy the chest, and then you make it a 6-link with tainted currency. Basically how you do it is you go to the benchcraft, you select 4 sockets, and then you use tainted jewelers. And if you drop to, like, for example, 2 links or 3 links or something like that, you select, you click the 4 sockets again until you get 6. And you literally do the same thing with tainted fusings. There's 50% chance of success. I got really lucky, I got it first try. But this is a very reliable and easy way to get a 6-link with a corruption. So the strength is not perfect here, but that's what I did. And in total, this chest cost me 1.5 divines yesterday. So that 150 chaos yesterday to get a 6-link with okay amount of strength and the duration implicit, which is +2 to smite. So very, very strong here, and this is what I recommend if you want to, you know, get an upgrade. Of course, you can go full safety and just buy yourself a Iron Fortress with high strength and just 6-link yourself. It's not going to be too expensive because fusings are pretty cheap, and you just click the crafting bench and spend 1500 fusings. It's going to cost you about 3 divines, and there you go. There's your 6-link Iron Fortress. Another thing you can do, obviously, is you can try to 6-link yourself by clicking. But yeah, I mean, it's it's up to you. If you feel like gambling a little bit, then yeah. I had in the past chests that I couldn't 6-link in 5,000 fusings, and yeah. But on the other hand, I had chests that I 6-linked in 200 fusings. So you know, it is how it is. It's just RNG. Of course, Synth Belt is going to be another upgrade, because Synth Belt is going to be basically this with even more. I think life. I think it's going to. I think it's going to be more than 10% maximum life, and resistances. So you know, if I'm going to be able to like get some chaos resistance here, that's going to be perfect. And then of course, helical rings. Try to get them as quickly as possible when they're still cheap, because helical rings start very low. Every single league they start very low and then they rise very quickly. So you know, like last league, for example, I had this situation where people like, you know, like I can't afford helical rings because they're 40 divines after a week. Exactly. This is why, you know, you buy them after 3 or 4 days, because after 3 or 4 days they're like 3 divines. So they rise in price ridiculously fast. So try to get them as quickly as possible, boys. Now, apart from these upgrades, of course, you can, you know, play around with, like, for example, like crit corruption and stuff like that. Of course, these are going to be very good. I need to recraft my gloves because they're awful, like straight up atrocious. so I need to get something better here. But other than that, at this point, looking at this gear, I think I also need to get a tincture with like some penetration, because that would be a pretty big damage boost. But other than that, you definitely just want to get cluster jewels. Cluster jewel with Overlord here. Overlord, keep in mind, is by far the most important one. The remaining ones don't really matter all that much. So if you're gonna get one with Overlord, that's all you're basically looking for. And then you of course want to get rid of fortification cluster. After that, you're going to get rid of all this, so 6 passive points saved, very nice. And then you want to get medium cluster jewel with fortify when you war cry, which is onslaught when you war cry, which is going to be a permanent onslaught, and permanent charges with mob. I don't remember its name, but you're going to see you can see that in my, for example, the previous POB, right, with an endgame version, what this modifier is. And with this cluster jewel, you're gonna get perma fortify, basically perma onslaught and perma power and frenzy charges, and you're going to see really quickly how much of a damage boost like having power charges and not having them is. This is primarily like a gargantuan damage boost when you're going to be fighting bosses. So like these clusters are just like super powerful, and I pretty much at this point, this is what I'm going to be going for when it comes to upgrades. Then of course there's going to be a lot of smaller things here, especially jewels, because my jewels suck for the most part. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys gonna have any questions, feel free to ask to do so in the comments. Also on my Discord, which the link is down below, and also on my Twitch. I very much recommend it because I stream every single day, and if you're going to join the stream live, then I can answer the question immediately and also develop. It's always not super easy to. You can't always like type a whole paragraph under a YouTube comment, because it's just it is what it is. It's just going to take too much time, right? So if you can ask the question directly, then you can just go on for 5 minutes, and yeah, it's way more convenient. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Next video, I do believe in 2 days or 3 days, depending on how the progression is gonna go. I just want to make another video with like actually like a big jump in power and show you what's going on. And yeah, I hope you guys gonna have a fantastic day. Thank you very much for watching, and see ya next time. Bye bye.